Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to some training today on Google Forms. I'm Dave Collins from Single Point, and also I'm the Director of Learning Innovation at Invercargill School. And so today we're going to be looking into that. We're a couple of minutes early at the moment, so I'm just going to wait till 3:30 to officially click over, and then we'll start some training. Hopefully you'll recognise that the training that we do today, even if you're not watching it live, you get the opportunity to watch it back later on, or if you are watching it live, you can still watch it back later on as well. All right, we'll wait till 3:30 to click over. Obviously, at this point, you may want to fast forward through to actually get to the start if you are watching on the archive. All right, well, I make it as 3:31, and welcome to Single Point Training with Dave Collins. We will be looking this afternoon at some cool things you can do with Google Forms, and really want to emphasize this afternoon that a lot of what we can do here doesn't even necessarily require your students to have a Google Apps for Education account. It really just requires that the teacher in the classroom has some form of Google account, whether it's a GAFE account, Google Apps for Education account that is, or whether that's just a simple Gmail address. Obviously, whatever system you're working in will require that you have access to this, that it's not blocked, but that's something you should obviously test before you start with your classes. If you're just joining us now, I encourage you in the chat window to type in your name and what school you're from so we get a bit of a feel for who's watching each afternoon. So, as I said, we want to get started with using some Google Forms. So I'm going to swap out of you being able to look at my face, and we'll be looking at my screen for a fair bit of this afternoon. Feel free to ask questions as we're going along. If something happens and you go, oh, I'd like to know how to do something like that a little bit differently, just pop it into the chat window and I can see that pop up, and I'm more than happy to vary this afternoon to meet the needs of the people who are viewing it. So we're now in Google Drive. I'm in the new Google Drive. Some of you may be used to using the old Google Drive. Realistically, it's almost exactly the same thing now. You'll notice that there's a shared with me button, which a few weeks ago was referred to as incoming, but now we've gone back to using the shared with me that was part of the old drive. But there's a few things here. Firstly, you've got all these My Folders come first when we're looking in sections like that. And sometimes that annoys me a little bit when I'm working like this. I've got this other section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press the letter V on my keyboard. And what that does is it changes this into the icon view. And for me, because I actually want to see my files at the top, that's a very handy thing. All right, so let's create our first form. And to create the form, I'm going to go New. And you'll see that it's in the new Google Drive. It's not listed as one of the first three. They've gone to the top three. You have to go down to More, and then you go to Google Forms. So let's talk through some of the things that are here. I'm using my own personal Gmail account this afternoon rather than my school account. But I do want to talk through a couple of things up here that would appear if you were using a Google Apps for Education account. There's normally an option which says limit it to the people from your school. And that requires them to be logged in. And if you don't want this form to be available out on the web, then that's a really good option for you to tick and say, yes, that's there. The show progress bar at the bottom of the page doesn't really require, necessarily need it there, but if you've got multiple pages, it's obviously a good idea. Allow only one response per person. That requires that they have to log in and therefore have a Google Apps or Google account. And shuffle the question order is one of those multiple choice quiz type questions, but we won't get to that just yet. So first thing we obviously want to do is have a name. So let's just go sample form. Really boring. Obviously, you can come up with other names. Note that once you've done that, it does actually change the name of the file up here, and that's a very handy thing. You have a description in here. This is a sample form from Dave Collins and single point training. Okay. Then we're faced with this dialogue section. It assumes that your first question is going to be a multiple choice. And here's the chance to put in the question. So let's simply go here. What school system are you from? And text here, e.g. Catholic. And I should learn how to spell that properly. That's just typing at the end of the day. And then secondly here, we've got the options that we can put. So we could put a Catholic school, which is more than likely going to be the case today since Single Point and Sydney CEO are working together on this project. Independent and public. So we've got that there. There are some advanced setting options, which is a good idea to have a look. In this case, it's only just a shuffle option order, one that could appear, but sometimes the advanced ones, depending on the choice of question that you've got, can have a difference there. You can have this as a required question. So before somebody can submit, they actually have to have ticked that this required question is being completed. Otherwise, they won't be able to submit the work. So when we click somewhere else, it immediately changes the view. I'll click done on this case here. It changes it so that it shows it to you so that you see roughly what it would look like if it was on the actual form. And then here, I'm going to click on this triangle. And you'll see that there are a number of options that we can use. And we'll have a look at some of these ones today, but we won't use all of them. It's good to be aware that there are some extra ones than from what used to be available on a Google form. For example, a few years ago, it was impossible to get a picture or a video in here. So that does allow you to have that chance to give the students a video to watch and then have some questions that they answer on it, and you get to see the responses straight away. So this might be a text question, and I might just want to get what people's name is. And so generally a text question only requires the space of one box. And I look at this and I go, oh, I think the name is in the wrong spot. I'd like to have that first. Well, it's very easy. Just drag, up, drop. I went too far with that. And so therefore it's now changed the order of that one there. Let's have a look at some other ones. Paragraph text. Please describe what it is that you do for a job. So I got that there. And I'm going to go to the paragraph text on this one, and obviously a chance to use a longer response. It doesn't clearly show that it's massively bigger than the one up above on this, but it can later on. Then most of the standard ones, obviously ticker boxes allow people to have more than one option. So what is the best day of the year? And this is obviously a poor choice for this one. I'm not going to put any help tests in here. I could go Christmas, New Year's Eve, Easter. Notice it also has an option for add other, so that people can put their own response in. So there, and when I click there, this is a silly question in a lot of senses because of the fact that we've used the tick boxes when really it should be a multiple choice. What is a day of the year you enjoy? Maybe would be a better question. So we can always click in here. What is the day of the year, days of the year that you enjoy. Okay, so there's a few possibilities there. When I've got that set up and finished like that, I obviously could add a lot more questions. Scales and grids are really handy ways of getting people to make some type of comparison. And later on when we get to a survey, we'll actually have a look at that one and see how we can set that up pretty well. And a grid as well. Dates and times require that what the person enters is actually going to be in the format of a date or a time, and have some nice little widgets which actually allow it to come from there. Choosing from a list, very similar to a multiple choice question because you can only choose one option from the list. But sometimes when you've got 40 or 50 options, it's better to actually have it as a list which pops up rather than having a different type there. So I'm just going to go, that's great. Down the bottom, it's got a confirmation your response has been recorded. Well, I might want to write something a little bit more specific than that. Like, thank you for your response today. It will help us make better decisions. Something a little bit more personal. You can have a link so that people can loop around and do it again. A lot of the time I find that's useful to turn that off. Publish and show a public link to the form's results and allow respondents to edit responses after submitting. You can only use that one if they've actually logged in, otherwise they won't be able to do that. So now that I've actually set that up, I've built my page, I'd like to actually see what the form looks like. So I'm going to go View Lifeform, and it pops open with a new tab. And in a very simple sense here, I now have an ability for students to be able to type in information, working at independent school. I'm the Director of Learning Innovation at Innerborough School. And I probably enjoy Easter and Christmas the best. Never know what to do on New Year's Eve. So when I press submit, it says, thank you, it's come in here. I'd like to thank you for your response today. It will help us make better decisions. And when I pop back here to here, you'll see that already it's showing up here that there is one response, and that I can then come here and view the responses. Now this is the really clever part of it. Every time you create a form, it automatically creates a spreadsheet to store the data. So if I go here and go review responses, you can see that I have a spreadsheet. It tells me when that data was entered and all of these different options that have come here. So that's a handy thing. Hopefully that will work for you. Now, let's say I'd like to share this so some other people could work with it. So back in here, I'd like to view the form and share it. Now there are a number of built-in sharing ways. You can go send form. You can get an address from that. Obviously that will send to a Google+, a Facebook or a Twitter. You can put in the email addresses of people and they'll get an email saying we'd like you to contribute to this form that we've asked, we're doing some type of survey, and that can be a really handy thing. I'm going to go with a slightly simpler approach that I like in my classes, which I'm going to view the live form and close that one there. So this is what the form looks like, and I've enabled a URL shortener. So it's goo.gl, and that's an extension I've added to my Chrome. And if you're looking at how to do that, go to the app section over here, go to the Chrome store, look for the URL shortener with the image that looks like this. I'm going to click on this. So rather than a really long address, I have a short one. So I'm going to go copy now. I'm going to come over here into the chat window and I'm going to paste that in. That's now appeared in the chat, and if you would like to go and have a go at entering some data into that form, if you've got a device handy, can you give that a go? Obviously for a class, it's a very handy thing just to show that on the board, the shortcut that's come up. And also note that the URL shortener that I Hi, I'm back. I don't know what exactly happened there. It crashed. Hopefully you have been able to reconnect. I can still see we have some viewers there. I'm about to try and continue with our example. I'm not sure whether we hit a screen speed issue or anything like that, but hopefully we'll get on top of it now. I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. I'm going to present this to everyone, and we need to get back into my drive. So we're up to looking at the sample form, viewing it live on the web, and we now have that showing here, and we would like to go to the URL shortener. And I was about to show you that it's even possible to generate a QR code on the fly as we're going along. So hopefully you can see that all right, and that's working all right for you from there. The URL shortener is a really effective way of doing it. I'm just going to grab All right, I apologise. We seem to be having some technical problems. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but my computer has now crashed twice, and so I'm really hoping that we can get this back and up and running really well. So we've created our form. We've had a look at how that works there. I'm going to go back to showing you my Google Drive here. Hopefully I've just tried to simplify it a fair bit so that it works nice and easily for you. So hopefully in sample form, let's see if anybody else has entered any responses, and we haven't at this point in time. So if you get a chance, and you can, it'd be really cool if you could come into the form itself. The form should be accessible if we go view live form, and then if I grab the shortener, I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to jump across back to the Google Hangout, and I'm going to put in the chat. So there is the address, and if you get the chance, can you jump into there and you'll be able to enter some data and get a feel for how that form works. All right, so let's keep moving on. Hopefully we can get through still a fair bit of stuff done in the time, and I'll have to check obviously the YouTube video later on to make sure that it is actually good. So we'll go back to the sample form. Okay, so now that we've actually created that sample form and we've been able to see here the connection between, one of the things that you will probably want to be able to do is change the theme. So let's go change theme. It has built in a whole lot of themes which are very helpful for us, but to be honest, a lot of the time we look at them when we go, actually, yeah, that's not that useful for me. There are a number of options now that you can do, but which allows you to customize the theme. So you pick the theme that you want, basically from there, and then you can copy it from another theme, or there is the capacity to actually change the theme around and actually make it look in a whole lot of different ways, easier for you to use. I won't go into that too much this afternoon, just saying that there are different themes here. I myself have created a look which I like for my school, and then I'm going to then go back from there. So I'm going to go back to there. Change theme is where we get to do it. Notice that when you go back to editing questions, you get it pretty simple from there. All right, so what we'd like to do is I like to create a very simple survey and then be able to analyze that. So when you come here, you'll see that there are a whole lot of different options up here. One which is a summary of responses. So I think I'll just use this form again. I'm going to get a few more things in here. So I'm going to go Tom, worked in the Catholic school, put in a response, likes New Year's Eve, and press submit. And then I'm going to go back again, refresh the page, and I'm going to go Fiona, and works in state school, and I just put in a bit of data there, but likes New Year's Eve and Christmas best. And let's go back. Now I should have obviously left on the option which allowed people to resubmit. Reload the page, and we're going to go Jeff, and works in a Catholic school. This one we're not so much stressed about, and I could leave it blank. And I'm going to go this one, other, and I also would like to write in basically the Queen's birthday. Submit. Now when I come back here to this, you'll see that I've got now 4 responses. And if I go view responses, I can look in the spreadsheet and see what's been entered there, which is obviously pretty handy from there. Now available in both of these is the capacity to then analyze the data. And to be honest, I've never found something that does it so quickly and efficiently for me. So under responses, if I go to summary of responses, it will open up a new page, which will automatically have gone, here are the 4 people whose names in there. That's not that interesting. It's created a pie chart out of the multiple choice. But down here, because it had multiple ways of people selecting it, that it's collated them and put it into a bar graph. And it makes some very good decisions for the analysis of data. And quite often I'll get students to create some type of survey or form, and then the analysis, just understanding how the analysis goes from 50% and doing that is a really valuable thing. But also it's really valuable when the data pool gets a lot bigger than that. So I think that's a really handy way of being able to look at the way that we go from there. So if you get the chance, jump in there, have a go and create your own form, which will enable you to be able to do some analysis and work through that. All right, another simple way, really simple way of just doing something at the start of the lesson. I quite often will close off these ones here. If I want to just simply see what students are thinking about a particular topic, I'll just go new Google form. I'm going to make my one question just simply a paragraph of text. I'm going to go, oh, what do you know about the Great Depression? That's the title. Maybe we'll call that Great Depression up here. And then we'll go to here. What do you know about the Great Depression? Go done. And then from that, I simply go view Lifeform. Then I'd pull this up so it's shortened in front of my class and jump up the QR code. And then I will copy that and I'll put that into the chat for what we're doing. All right, so there's the second one. And I would get students to type in what they know. They put in a whole lot of things, like a lot of people went hungry, a lot of people didn't have jobs, and a whole lot of different things like that. And then once they've submitted that, I can then come back to here and go view responses. And I'll get a whole lot of text. And if I just simply highlight the text and copy it, I won't do it now because I don't necessarily have time, but the 1,000 tools out there that will create a Wordle for me, I can just dump that text straight into here. So that's all right. And I won't use Wordle because it requires Java, but there's a number of other ones. I think this one might do all right. Yeah, I think for time this afternoon we won't bother creating one, but if you come here, you go create, then you should have the options to be able to dump all the text that you had here into it. And just throwing that up on the board visually is a really interesting thing to do a very simple formative assessment without actually having the names of the students next to it, just how the whole class is going. All right, well, I want to do one last quiz in the last 5 minutes, which is probably a very traditional one, but I'd like to go through this, and hopefully in 5 minutes we can do it. It might go a little bit longer, and if you need to go, you can always watch it back later on. So let's go multiple choice quiz. And let's go simply, who was the first man to score a test 100? All right, and Ricky Ponting, David Warner, Donald Bradman, or none of the above. Okay. So there's the first question, multiple choice quiz, and we'll just quickly create a second one, which is who should be current Prime Minister? Interesting when we get to writing the right answers. Secondly, so we could obviously write Malcolm Turnbull. Tony Abbott. Bill Shorten. Or Bill Gillard. Right, so there's our 2 questions. Done. Let's view the form, and anyone who wants to have a quick go at this, obviously you can. I'll shorten it, I'll copy it, and then I'm coming back to the chat, and I'll paste it in for a 3rd time there. So now we have that one which is available, and you can go and enter it there, and that'd be a great thing for you to do while we're doing it. So nice and simple, here's the multiple choice quiz. Now, this is a trick. We're going to use a program called Flubaroo. Well, it's an add-on that comes in this. It's not available as an add-on in a quiz. It's available as an add-on inside the work that we do in the responses. So to get to that, we need to go view responses. Now, we don't have any responses to actually test it from, but we'll go from here. We're going to go add-ons and get an add-on. Now, honestly, I haven't actually done this in my personal account in a long time, but here we go. Here's Flubaroo, and we'll add it in. Flubaroo is going to ask permission to do a number of things to be able to work with this, and obviously you need to read through that carefully, but that's basically so it can do the job of marking your multiple choice quizzes for you. So what normally happens here is, once you've added that in, you need to actually take the quiz and tell it what the right answers are. Traditionally, you do it first, well, none of the above. Tony Abbott will just be not controversial today at all. And then obviously back here immediately, I've got the responses. Now, there will be a problem that we'll get to in this a little bit later on. Under here in Flubaroo, we now can grade the assignment. And it will say it's working. There's not enough submissions for grading because at the moment it's only got my key. So let's go back here, submit another response, and we'll go Ricky Ponting and Tony Abbott, and submit one more just to make it nice and easy, Donald Bradman and Bill Shorten, and submit. And then back here in Flubaroo, we'll go to Flubaroo and we'll go grade assignment. Okay, so it's got each question, it says how many points is it worth, and it picks the traditional 1 point each. Step 2, it says which of these submissions was the right one. So we're going to take the first one here because that was the first one we entered, and that's traditionally the right way. So it's asked which is the answer key. And so Flubaroo then creates another page here, which has given us the answers of all the grades. So we can go view grades, and it shows us each of the attempts, It shows us how many possible ones came in here. In the educational version, then there is an option afterwards in Flubaroo, which is to email the grades to the student. Now, it won't work because we weren't logged in and we didn't have any requirements for that at the start. So we can go from there, but we can also review reports, and it clearly gives us back our information on how it works. So that's a couple of cool things you can do with forms. Apologies for the crashes this afternoon. I'm hoping that we won't experience that again in the future. I was using an older laptop this afternoon, which I don't always use, and so maybe that's been part of the problems, and hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed in future weeks to come. If you've got any concerns or things, just put it straight into the single point community, or feel free to email me or contact me on Google+. Hopefully that's been helpful. I'm really keen to hear what type of topics you'd like to have covered in future training sessions, so feel free to also contact me through any of those methods, because we really want this training with me and through single point to be a really effective way of helping you do PD. Feel free to watch it back and share it with other people so that they can learn from this afternoon as well. Thanks a lot, and bye.